Hello, you're very welcome to the Under Center podcast, or should I say, the Under Center Boocast on this Halloween. Thank you, Rain. That's all I wanted is just a head nod of approval because that was fantastic. Thank you very
I
much.
want the listeners to know that we spitballed several excellent puns before the show, and Dara chose that one of his own volition. So we take no responsibility for that poor pun.
I
And you
personally
know
liked
what,
Fort
Fionn?
and Ghoul. That was good.
That was a good one.
Well, look, this is the beauty of having your own podcast, right? You forget this isn't
perks of being the
some
host.
sort of democracy. This is a pure dictatorship where whatever I say goes. So it's the Boocast today, and you can take your Fort and Gale and you can go suck it.
Yeah, well,
Right?
don't be calling me a girl.
I
You
don't
girl.
You go yet.
I don't care because none of us are from the country, so we don't have to be saying "go." Anyway, we are back after a prolonged 2-week bye week, and we are back. We are going to be looking at some of the latest news on this Halloween Eve. Also, it is a trade deadline. There is about 30 minutes left for teams to make trades. There has been a lot of trades today. Most notably, the Washington Commanders are saying, do you want any D linemen? Here you go. Take them for a late first day, early second day, or actually just second day, isn't it? Second and thirds they're going for today. So second day, any second day pick you want to give to the Washington Commanders, they will give you a defensive lineman in return.
If they want to part with Deron Payne, I'll take them, or I'll take them.
You might give your bag of sweets that you
though.
got from trick or treating. That's all these words.
Not for that contract. Because
even with that contract.
Yeah. Anyway, there's been a lot of trades in the last 2 hours, especially. We'll try and keep up to date with them as much as we can. Fionn, we're going to start with, of course, the Washington Commanders because they have been busy more with their outgoings today than incomings. First of all, earlier on today, they sent Montez Sweat to the Chicago Bears for a second-round pick. And then just in the last hour, Chase Young is moving to, of course, the 49ers for a third-round pick. And I guess if your thoughts have to be with anyone on this day today of all days, it has to be with Montez Sweat, knowing that he went to the Chicago Bears when Chase Young got to go to the 49ers for even a less compensation than he went to the Bears.
Yeah, look, that's got to feel really, really bad. I mean, there's not many teams around the league that are in the same boat as the Commanders on the defensive side of the ball. The Bears might be one of them. So I think he jumped literally out of the frying pan and into the fire. Chase Young, that's a great move for the 49ers. I mean, me and Rain had a bit of a row here before we came on. Before he came on there, he was giving a bit of slander to my former player. I wasn't really having it. Now, look, I try and be the least delusional as possible. Obviously, Commanders fan, there's always going to be a bit of delusion in there. But the reality is there's a reason the 49ers fans are excited. The rest of the league is going, oh, Jesus, no. Yes, he has a dodgy knee. And yes, it would have been hard for us to keep him. I do understand why we got rid of him. But that's a great signing for the 49ers. Big disappointment when you're one of the teams that's kind of doing a fire sale. It's hard to watch all your good players go because it's never the bad players that leave in the fire sale. But the reality is we had both of those players, both players I really liked. But the offense is still ranked bottom 5 in yards and points allowed, which when you have that much talent and that much investment in one unit and it hasn't led to an uptick in defense over, let's be honest, the last 3 years haven't been great for the defense on paper of the Commanders. So I totally understand why it's being blown up. I'm very, I have a lot of trepidation about where this is going as well. I don't think the Commanders front office has done a really good job over the last few years in fixing holes. I hope the offensive line gets a lot of attention. I do think wide receivers were okay. It's not the best unit, but Jahan Dotson had a good game last week. Obviously, McLaurin is probably in most people's conservative top 20 wide receivers in the league, so that's nice to have. Be good to add another threat, and I think running back needs a bit of work. But as we've seen around the league, most teams are now putting most of that value into the offensive line. Right, there's third, fourth, fifth round running backs that are going for big yardage if you get the right team blocking out in front. So maybe Washington are planning to go that way. The back end as well. It's really weird, and I don't want to ramble too long on this, but it's really weird because I guess on paper it's not the worst backfield ever. Like there's certainly some rookies there, but St. Juice has played all right. Cam Curl had and Al will roll his eyes, but he had a good PFF year last year in terms of his grading as a safety. You know what I mean? And sure, we can argue about the merits of that. But the reality is he's doing something that raises him to the top of that scoreboard. So I'd much rather have him there than at the bottom of absolutely everything. So there's a lot of questions. I think Ron Rivera is definitely on a hot seat as well. I don't think he was on our last hot seat ranking, but I think he's definitely hovering right around kind of 6th, 7th seat. Frankly, he's been here too long and it hasn't worked out yet.
It's interesting you say about Ron because I did see reports on today that he could lose his job within the next few weeks if results don't go his way. And obviously Eric Bieniemy coming in, they believe that he is the successor in waiting to take over the head coaching job.
Yeah, I mean, it will be interesting. There's been ups and downs this season for Eric Bieniemy in terms of how the offense has looked. Some games has looked really good, really clever. I think in the last Eagles game, they actually did a good job. Obviously, they couldn't survive the shootout. The defense didn't get enough stops in the end. But by all accounts, he called a very good game and gave the Eagles plenty to think about, especially coming off that absolutely abysmal game against the New York Giants, who were struggling at best against the Jets team on Sunday, and we didn't look particularly good on offense against them. So yeah, unfortunately, the quote unquote good side of the team preseason has struggled a lot, and the bad side has performed maybe slightly better than people would give them credit. Not much better though, but a little bit better than absolutely useless. So we'll have to see if either of those sides can make a significant improvement. Because the fact is, if you're going to do a fire set like this, you have to generate an improvement.
Yeah, we should also mention that isn't a child trying to escape captive. That is fireworks outside someone's house at the moment. I'm guessing that's yours, Reem.
Yeah, it sounds like Brian Robinson's garage around there.
Yeah, that's Lorraine. That's Lorraine shooting at the rats in the back of our garden. Get out of here, you
rats! On the other side of the NFC West, the Seahawks made a trade last night for defensive lineman Leonard Williams from the New York Giants for a 3rd-round pick in 2024 and a 5th-round pick in 2025. Also, the Giants are taking on most of his remaining contract. The Seahawks only have to pay him the league minimum for the rest of the year. Al, before I give my opinion on it, you are other Seahawks fan. Your view on the move for Leonard Williams?
I think it's a good trade. I mean, he is a good player. I think he's overshadowed a bit there in New York by Dexter Lawrence, who is one of the best defensive tackles in the league. And he's having a good year. I mean, Fionn, you were mentioning PFF there. He has his best pass rush grade of his career this year, and he's always stout against the run. And he has more pressures than Jaron Reed, who's having a great year in Seattle as well. So I think it's a good year, and especially, considering we only have to pay him $600,000, that's probably why we had to spend the second. I think that is a bit steep, but I mean that's strengthening.
It just means John Schneider can't draft a running back in the 2nd round next year.
That's why he did it. He was just like, I can't stop myself, so I'll just get rid of it now, and then won't have to worry about it. Then he takes one in the 1st. I think it's a good trade.
Let's do that now. Come on,
I think it's a good trade, and it will help out because Draymond Jones has been good, but certainly not playing up to his contract value. So that'll be, adding a strength there and helps out. He can play edge, and I don't think he'd play much, but with Mosu out, We saw last weekend, Clark and Hall, they're not there yet. So I like the trade, and I think it'll help us this year.
Okay, well, that's all you want from the team is a trade to help. I liked the trade as well. I would have liked it even more if Chase Young wasn't traded today to the 49ers. I would have liked it a whole lot more if that wasn't the case. But yeah, like I said, it's a player that I've always liked on first the Jets and then the Giants. So it's a bit weird. He's actually not going to be playing in New York now, which I'm sure is a weird experience for him. You will play on a competent team now, which is even weirder for sure. But I like the move. It seems to get better. The issues aren't with the defense at the moment. The issues are with the offense. So I don't think you're going to fix that with half an hour to go in the trade deadline, and that's an off-season issue that you're going to have to fix. So look, listen. If it looks like if you're trading a second, you're going to re-sign him. So I'd imagine he will be staying in Seattle for the long term rather than just till the end of the season because his contract is up. So look, productive, stays healthy, helps the team. That's all you can ask for.
Rian, do you expect the Panthers to get involved in any trades? Like, I think they're kind of in the same position of the Commanders, where the record might incentivize getting rid of a couple of bigger contracts in preparation for next season.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's definitely no incoming players at this stage in the trade window because the Panthers have no draft capital left, and that's another reason why they probably should be getting involved in this kind of trade bonanza at the end of the trade deadline. Guys who spring to mind are Shaq Thompson. He's been injured most of the season this season. He's an exceptional linebacker, but looking at the contract moving forward with him, he has a lot of money going next year, and then he's due for a contract renewal, which is just going to be even more. So if you're looking at trying to build from new, kind of with your quarterback that you've just drafted in the first round last season, it's important to build around him with youth and talent. And I think you're probably able to get some decent draft capital there out of the likes of Shaq Thompson. But I think the main guy, if they're not going to, they haven't paid him yet, Brian Burns needs to go. I think you can get really, really nice draft capital for him, whether it's a first round this year and a first round next year or something along those lines. He's definitely worth the money to whatever suitor comes his way. But yeah, if you're not going to pay the guy, you might as well make the money out of him now instead of going down this route where you're giving him a 50-year option next year and then kind of rolling that ball along. It's just not worth it if you're trying to build around your future of the franchise, which is Bryce Young at the moment.
Didn't the Rams offer 2 firsts at the last trade deadline for him?
They did, but also you have to remember Matt Rule was at the helm when this was happening. They had the plan to build around guys like Burns. I don't think the plan probably was to, sell everything to try and get that number 1 overall pick. They were just awful at evaluating quarterbacks, so they probably had their eye on someone like Kyler Murray to come in and do a job. But yeah, they were offered 2 first-round draft picks. They probably should have taken it back then. I don't think his draft stock his stock in general has gone down since that point. He had his best season last season in terms of he made the Pro Bowl, 9.5 sacks I think he had, which was his most of his career. So yeah, I think there's definitely draft capital to be gained out of moving him on.
Okay. All right, fair enough. We did get a comment in, and I guess we are already talking about them, so let's continue it on a little more because can we talk about the Panthers? Because the Panthers got their first win at the weekend. Rain. I'm sure you're delighted with that. The only one to pick them, because you have been picking them to your own detriment all year. Beating the Texans in a very close game. Was it 13 points to 11 in the end?
15-13.
15-13, sorry, 15-13. To get Bryce Young's first win as an NFL player as well. Frank Reich was coming in for a lot of criticism. He gave up his play calling duties as well in the last week 2. Do you think that helped Bryce Young in this game? Is there signs of progress after this win? And is it going to lead to more wins, or do you still see some struggles down the road?
I think the main thing about the last game against the Texans was that the offense still didn't look great, but there were signs of life there. Now, the run game was abysmal. I think they had 44 yards total on 22 carries or something like that, which is just ridiculous. That's way too little to be having in the NFL and be successful. But Bryce Young stepped up, and he stepped up throwing the ball to targets that were not named Adam Thielen. Now, I think Adam Thielen did end up with quite a nice stat line at the end of the game, but there was some nice catches in there from Terrace Marshall, a few from Jonathan Mingo. They hit DJ Chark a couple of times, so that's exciting to see. I think getting away from Frank Reich, he's an old school type of play caller, running on first down, lots of screens, touchdown, check down kind of mentality. If we can get away from that and get some of our more dynamic players involved in the passing game, then things are starting to look up a little bit. So Bryce Young looked pretty good in that game, so I have a bit of hope moving forward. The monkey's off the back now, first win in the NFL, so let's see if we can go get a few more. I don't think we're going to get more than 5 wins this season. There's no way.
Who's
5
next
is a big number.
Yeah, 5 is a big number, but we're probably not going to get through.
A total second half flip. Who's coming up next week, Rain?
I was too buzzing about this week to even check. I
Let's
can't
see,
remember.
hold on. You keep talking and fill the air, and I'll tell you.
The first
Just
person
a
for
quick,
filling the air.
just a quick update on some possible some trades that have happened while we've been on the air. Rasheed Douglas is moving from the Packers to the Bills in exchange for a 5th round pick. Or no, Rasheed Douglas and a 5th round pick, and the Packers are getting a 3rd round pick in return. That obviously looks like Jalen Johnson is going to be staying in Chicago at least till the end of this year. The team did allow him to seek a trade today. He seems to have not been able to find a trade partner, so he looks like he's going to be staying till the end of the year. Probably will be getting some decent money in free agency. The Vikings are scrambling around to find their quarterback for the end of the season. They have traded for Joshua Dobbs from the Cardinals. Interesting timing after it was announced last week that either Kyler Murray or was it Clayton Tune is going to be starting this week for the Cardinals in their game against the Browns. So Joshua Dobbs is landing in Minnesota, which is good. So did we find out who's the Panthers' next opponent?
It's the Frank Reich revenge game.
So there's a chance. There
is. Yeah. I mean, look, it's an Anthony Richardson-less Colts, followed by the Bears. Cowboys, I don't think there's much chance of winning that. The Titans seem to be up and down all season.
Levis might destroy you.
Buccaneers, slim chance. Saints, probably not. Falcons, slim chance. Packers, slim chance. I mean, there's winnable games.
How are you saying there's slim chance Bucs, but definitely not against the Saints? I would have flipped that around.
Yeah, I'm even more scared of the Bucs defense than the Saints defense.
But I don't know.
Also,
Alvin
the
Kamara
Colts
is looking exceptionally good. They put up a 30 bomb on who was it last week?
Yeah, that's true. On the Lions, wasn't it? No,
the Saints last week.
No, the Saints last week were playing.
They played the Colts, but like the Colts are conceding points all over the place.
And it was 38-27. Colts put up.
Look, we don't do well against the Saints. We just never do well against the Saints. So I'm not holding out hope there. But
always divisional games as well are tight. Divisional games are always tight. It doesn't matter what the sort of
go watch a Seahawks Cardinals game.
I'm just really impressed on the Colts side of things with Taylor and Moss. They have both those guys absolutely humming, and that's very difficult to do. Like the last game, they both had above 6 yards a carry.
That's good. That's really good.
That's a top
notch. And they're coming up against the Panthers run defense, who are cheeks.
Would you like to change that? Great chance to As long as they don't
if you're
run
a
the
betting
ball.
man, Jonathan Taylor, anytime touchdown, I'd go
Yeah.
over 100 rushing yards. That's nailed on.
I wonder what you get
Yeah.
on an
Why
accumulator
do
for.
why do we put if you're a betting man? Like, we're all betting men. We know we do
We
it.
try to be.
You know?
I'm not.
We are.
I'm not.
We bet and we lose. Okay, so you're the smart one of the group. We know that already. We've seen
Yeah,
it.
no,
well,
that,
Al
the
goes
whole
you
you bet
Actually,
you
out of all
lose.
of us, out of all
You
of us,
should be.
you should be the betting man. You're getting the
No, 'cause-
predictions right every
Because
week.
all Al does is win the first 3 weeks when it's all chaos, and then he just watches what the next Gearless guy does to him and just picks all the same wins so that no one can ever close the gap. I know his strategy. Do you ever notice he's never the first to put in his picks?
It's because I'm lazy and I forget.
I'm going to send mine direct
is-
to Tara from now on. I'm going to cut him off at the knees.
Yeah, do it.
It might have to be.
No, I'm
Didn't
telling
we do
you.
that towards the end of one before?
I'm not lying when I say it's completely vibes based. Like, I have a general idea of how teams are doing, so I'm like, yeah, they'll probably beat them. They'll probably beat them. They'll probably win.
Good, because that's how I go as well. The stats go out the window when I'm talking. I'm pure vibes, man. Eye
Yeah,
test.
there's no
and it's
point in
my eye as
overanalyzing.
well, which is pretty useless, but there you go.
Yeah,
Worthless
we're
over
here.
What the heck?
overanalyzing.
I'm just looking at next week's game. The Washington Commanders are going into the Patriots 3-point underdogs. Is that not
Yeah.
Patriots
shocking?
are awful.
I know we just
all
got
round.
rid. I know we just got rid of their 2 good D linemen, but still, 3-point underdogs to the Patriots. They've been absolute cheeks.
Yeah, no.
Except
Patriots
against
are
the
bad.
Bills. They beat the
I'm
Bills.
hammering
Your
that. I'm
backups-
hammering that. I'm
your
gonna make
backups
some.
should be the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm gonna make some money this weekend, lads. Let's go.
I love to see that. Actually, we got this in from Sean McVay.
Sean McVay.
Raiders, I beg you to rebuild. And I
That
couldn't actually
starts.
agree
That
more.
starts with firing McDaniels.
I
That's
want-
the only place to
Starts
start.
with putting not so much money into useless quarterbacks. Like, they gave a big contract to Derek Carr, figured out he sucked, and then went and got Derek Carr, but from fucking San Francisco. What
No,
was
it's
going
Derek
on
Carr.
there?
I think-
It's Derek Carr, but worse.
I think Devontae Adams deserves to stay at the Raiders because people were like, "Oh, feel sorry for Devontae Adams. He went there to play for Derek Carr."
Yeah.
He went there to play for Derek Carr. How did he ever think that
Yeah,
was going to end
he
up
wanted
well?
to
Yeah, it
play
was
for
his
the
own
Raiders.
college
Stay
team.
in Vegas.
Yeah, he wanted to play for the Raiders. He wanted to play for Derek Carr. He made his own bed, now sleep in it. I don't feel sorry for him. How do you
Who
think the
else would
Raiders
you-
were going to be good? Come on.
Who else would you even want off the Raiders? Max Crosby?
Max Crosby.
Max
Yeah,
Crosby,
definitely Max
for
Crosby.
sure. Max Crosby, Josh
And-
Jacobs.
Just
Yeah.
Jacobs. I don't
Healthy
know.
Josh Jacobs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not in the Seahawks. Because, you know, our
So
running
just
backs-
in general,
enough-
just
you've
in
got more
general,
running backs
Al,
than any
you
other
want Josh Jacobs. I want Josh Jacobs to be my friend here. You know, I want a
Yeah.
healthy Josh Jacobs to be my friend. I want him to
wouldn't?
come
Put
play
Josh
for the
Jacobs on the
Vikings.
49ers to take rushes when McCaffrey's catching his breath after running a 90-yard ball into the end zone.
But you know, actually, that
Hey, lads, the
Monday night
Rams are
game
heating
last
up
night,
as well, by the way. Seahawks
The
are in big
Rams?
trouble here. Yeah.
the Rams that got beat by the Pittsburgh
with
Steelers last week,
Stafford
and
out.
then
They're
lost,
heat- they're
got
heating up.
absolutely
They're
dicked
heating
by
up.
the Cowboys the night before.
And the
last
Cardinals
Sunday.
are going to have Kyler Murray back now, so you're really going to be in fucking trouble.
Oh, I'm really
Ooh.
scared.
Seahawks to come last
He's
in
been
this
a
division,
huge
I'm
problem for
telling
us
you.
in the past.
I
am
can't
terrified
wait for
of
Kyler Murray to show up on double XP weekend for COD. And
You know
miss
what I love
every
about
single
this,
throw.
Rin? They've almost but guaranteed the jinx now after talking all this big trash now on Arizona. That's a banana game if
They're
ever
taking
I've
that
seen it.
W. They're taking that W. I mean, they've
All
been
right, we'll have-
preparing for Josh Dodds all season, and now Kyler
wouldn't-
Murray is going to.
Yeah, word, this is gonna be a
I
totally
wouldn't be
change.
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but it's
I
not
was
as if we
joking
play
earlier.
Kyler Murray twice a year anyway.
I was joking earlier, but like seriously, games against Arizona are always just the weirdest.
Well, hold on.
fucking
They've got to
games.
play. They've got to play the Ravens, so that'll be 5-3, and then they've got to play the Commanders. So all of a sudden you're 5-4, and then you've got the Bengals. So all of a sudden you're 5-5.
We already
It's gonna
played
be
the
a rough
Bengals.
3
We
weeks.
already played the Bengals.
We already played the Bengals.
Yeah, week 11, you got to play the Bengals. Oh, sorry, that's the Ravens.
No,
They look too.
Ravens
they
is
look
next
too
week, and then it's
And then the Rams.
Niners.
Okay, maybe. You got
Oh, no,
just
yeah,
a good enough
Rams,
start
Niners,
to hold
Eagles.
on, I think. It's going to be a pitiful
I'm
limp
more-
into the playoffs.
I'm-
And then
I'm
Gino
more worried-
remembers he's trash.
we have a 5-week stretch of Cowboys, Niners, Eagles, Niners, Rams.
Playoffs.
I think.
So you're going to be red hot coming into the
yeah.
playoffs.
It's Rams, 49ers, Cowboys, 49ers again, Eagles.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
The
we
Seahawks
have
have to be the worst 5-2 team in the league.
How can you be the worst 5-2 team in the league when you're 5-2?
They have to
You've
be.
won
That's what I'm
games.
saying. This is the Vikings all over again. This is a mirage. This team is not that good. It's absolutely not, lads. It's absolutely not.
I mean, are they the
Lads,
same
lads.
caliber as the Chiefs? No. Are they the same
No.
caliber as the
No.
Eagles? No. Are they
No.
the same caliber even as the 49ers, who have lost their third
well, the
game in a
49ers
row?
have lost 3 in a
No.
row, so yes.
Are they
I would
the
say
same
no.
caliber as the Ravens? No. The Dolphins? No.
Lads.
The
This
Lions? No.
stinks
So yeah,
of
you're the
jealousy.
worst fucking
Well,
team.
Hold on,
Coming
hold
from
on.
the
I
Commanders
I have
fan
to say
and
this
the
about the
Panthers
49ers.
fan.
Hold on. Or not the 49ers. I have to say this about the
jealousy.
I have to say this about the Dolphins. We put the Bills on fraud watch after their loss against the Patriots. I'm putting the Dolphins on fraud watch because when they've come up against a good team this year, they've been blown out.
It is true. But then
So
when
until
they've
they
come
have
up against a Seahawks level team, they've blown them out. So
God
We'll
knows
see.
what they're going to do to the Commanders if they ever face them.
they don't, thank God. Unless it's the Super
Yeah.
Bowl, which I don't think we're going to make it this year, lads.
Unless,
I have a feeling.
yeah, they would beat that Broncos record for sure.
Just a hunch.
Actually, hold on. By the way, can we'll talk a little positive here about this because we've given them a lot of shit. Well, I've given them especially a lot of shit the last few weeks. But I'd like to officially welcome back to the Under Center podcast and to the NFL the Denver Broncos. I'd like to. Well, they are most welcome. My Little Ponies no more. Well done. Well done,
I
little.
think it was like a
bus for them.
16-game losing streak, wasn't it?
A
Something
bus
ridiculous.
for them.
going into last
They
season.
are getting their shit together a little bit, not totally, just a little bit. Beating the Chiefs on Sunday, and then they beat the Packers the week before. So they are beating teams. They're not getting blown out anymore. So your stint as the My Little Ponies are over. They're back to the Denver Broncos.
I wouldn't be too quick to jump on the Broncos bandwagon just yet. But they are
It's
playing
always
much
up-
better. They're playing.
It's
Well, they've
always
got a
up for
bye week,
review.
so they can't lose
Well-
again this week as well. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I just I
3
wouldn't be so quick to join them.
Yeah.
That's how you get the momentum. Let's go. Don't play anybody.
So we are we actually have 1 minute left until the trade deadline. So is there
Right.
anything happening? I don't think so.
There's
I can't
always
for
one or
week 10,
two
right?
like a minute after or 2 minutes after.
Yeah.
It was much busier last year.
There was
lot
a
of
few
trades
rumors
last year.
going around. There was a few rumors going around that the 49ers are making a second surprise mystery trade today, but I don't see anything happening there.
Well, if they don't do it this year, they're fucked. So they'd have to be making trades and trying to not lose
Albert
another
Breer
game.
reporting the Patriots didn't get any calls about Mac Jones or Zeke Elliott. No way. Did they not? I mean, teams are jumping at the bit to get a hold of them two studs.
That is a
I'm
shock,
sure,
isn't it?
I'm sure if they called anywhere asking, "Do you want to trade for Mac Jones?" they'd be laughed off the fucking phone.
I think if you called places and said, "Do you want to just have Mac Jones?" they still wouldn't take it.
No.
Yeah. No, I don't. Yeah, Ian Rappaport just tweeted out. Is it still tweeted or is it X'd out?
He X'd it.
It's
He X'd
tweeted.
Did he
I'm
just
not calling it
X'd
X. It's still twitter.com.
He
So
tweeted.
He tweeted. But yeah, no more trades. Deadline has
tweaks.
passed. The Packers trade for Rasul Douglas was the last one to be made. So there's no mystery 49ers trade for the last one. So the teams are as is, obviously barring free agent signing and releases. So be happy with your team, boys, because that's what you have. That's what you have now for the rest of the year, barring injury, of course.
Yeah, I
Better
wouldn't be,
pay Brian Burns now.
I wouldn't be
That's
surprised
it.
if there's literally
Well,
no drop off in Washington defense, to be honest, without our two best players.
Burns was a
mean-
first round pick, right?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you release him, you'll get a compensatory pick in 25.
A first round compensatory pick.
No, it'll be
Well,
a
I mean,
That's
release
how that
is,
works, right?
it'll be a third round pick or something.
There's no point
Yeah.
in releasing him though. Not with the production that he's having. Like he'll do you till the end of the year, but you'll
But
need to
this is
pay
the
him now.
thing, Rain. This is the thing. He's gonna choose. It's not like, oh, there's no point releasing him. Like if he doesn't resign,
Yeah, he's
doesn't
a
have to
UFA,
resign.
so
He can do whatever.
Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants.
But you see, he wants Bosa numbers, like either of the Bosa brothers. He just wants the same numbers as them. But he has not produced Bosa stats. So I don't see where, like, there's definitely a gap there, and he just doesn't.
Let's look at
doesn't
Bosa.
deserve that much.
He might have Bosa numbers because Bosa's been. I mean,
Bit
he's
dry
Nick
this
Bosa.
season.
He's very good, but like, he's not been the world. 3 sacks this year. Boy, Mafe has more sacks than him.
Yeah, but that
Right,
line is so good that he just gets so much attention and he releases a lot of sacks for other players. Like,
Yeah, I mean, he's
his
getting
win
double
rate
teamed
is
every
still
play. So like,
ridiculous.
Burns has been in the league 3 years now, and he's never gone over 10 sacks. For a guy who's talked about as one of the premier edge rushers in the league, you got to be putting up double-digit sacks.
yeah, but it's so hard. Like, how many first round picks have come and gone that were, swear they were going to be the next big thing. It's a hard position to play. There's
No, I understand that, but most people, you kind of you get a gauge on it after a year. You go, okay, this guy's not going to be it. People are still talking about Burns as if he's this he's mythical being.
He's done just good enough. He gets some good stats. He's making some good plays, and he's just good enough to stay there. In that one spot in the Panthers.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing else happened. Who do you think won the deadline?
It's got to be the 49ers, right? Like, even if you put all the question marks on top of Chase Young, if none of those come off, then it's unbelievable value for a team and a defense that, like, you're going to need to be strong coming into the playoffs. Like, that's how you're going to win games, putting opposition quarterbacks under pressure. They have to be for second. It's got to be the Bills, right? I don't think they gave up too much to get Rasul Douglas, and I do think they addressed an area of need for them. Obviously, running back is always going to be a need for them, but
yeah, Leonard Fournette is not the guy though. He's not. The
guy. That's what I mean. But I think they won it just in terms of getting Rasul Douglas on the back end. And Leonard Fournette's not the worst pickup. Did they even trade for him, or did they sign him as a free agent?
No, he was a free agent. He was cleared to play like last week, and then
I think I'm struggling to remember who they have. They have at running back. They have
James
Cook,
Damian Harris.
Maybe they're just looking for a big bruiser, which Fournette is, for if they get inside the 5, just to be able to handle it.
He's just not that guy anymore.
They've tried every single type of running back in the last few years. It doesn't seem to fit with their scheme.
And the line is fine. Like, it gives Allen loads of protection. You know what I mean? It's not like he has sack issues or anything. So it's weird that they aren't able to translate that into the ground game.
Yeah, it's their offensive line isn't good enough. They're not the worst in the league by any means, but they're just not good enough, and they haven't invested enough into it. They got Osiris Torrance in the draft, and he's been good. Like, he's been an upgrade, but they have to invest more there if they expect to have a good run game. Because you can have the best running back in the league, but you have to have a good offensive line in front of them.
That's the point we were making with the Commanders earlier, right? Like, yeah, the running backs have underproduced, but at this stage in the NFL, people are starting to understand that your offensive line gets you more rush yards than the guy holding the ball at the end of the day. You just need a guy that doesn't fumble it. But I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. My personal opinion is that the Commanders lost that trade deadline just based on, and sure, there's some caveats around, like we said, around Chase Young, but the talent level that left versus the compensation that came in, sure, it's probably fair, but also if it works out well for the other teams, like by the end of the season, we could easily be looking back at both of those trades, specifically for Sweat and for Young and go, whoa, that was pretty cheap in the end.
Well, it depends. I know Chase Young was in a contract year. What was Sweat? Was he in his second
Sweat
to
was
last or
also
last?
no, he was in his last year as well. So
Yeah,
look,
so-
I understand mathematically it was going to be a struggle for Commanders to keep them both, but for them both to get away for so cheap, and I kind of guessing where you're going to go with this, but sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's grand. Like, yeah, like you're right. It's maybe they just didn't want to, you know. Young's injury history and Sweat, you know, he is good, but like, did they want, like, maybe they were having some preliminary talks about his contract and they were just so far off. It was no, we're not doing that next year.
My bet is, well, I do think that the contracts came in because teams knew that the Commanders were a little bit over a barrel, in the sense that any player coming into their last year and you know they have two big players, you're like, well, why am I giving you like 2 picks or a first rounder or even a second rounder for both if I know you can't keep them anyway? So like, either you give them to me now for a third, or I just wait for free agency and I just pay him directly and you get your compensation through a third or a fourth round pick.
And I think as well, all 4 of those guys being first round guys across that defensive line, like, they're already earning big money, so they're going to expect big increases on their contracts. They're not like a third round guy who's had a couple of good seasons. These guys are guys who are already being paid well, so they're going to want to be paid astronomical money, and maybe the money's just not there in the cap. I know we say that the cap doesn't exist, but I mean, sometimes something has to give. You can't give all 4 of your D linemen $50 million a year, you know?
I want to throw a team at you that possibly could have lost the trade deadline. And that's the Philadelphia Eagles. Their slot corner position has been one of need throughout the whole season so far. Bradbury and Slay are obviously, they're doing absolutely fine on the outside, but nickel has been tough. I think one of their main guys went down early in the season, and they had been looking at cornerback help, but they haven't brought anyone in, and I think maybe that might hurt them as the season goes on. Let me just have a quick look here very quickly.
Well, they did bring in Kevin Byard, so maybe their plan is to shift a safety down, because slot corner's not all that different to playing safety.
And also,
possibly,
I think teams are a little bit
Avante
nervous.
Maddox, that's who it was.
Teams are a little bit nervous. Like, yeah, it's a position of need, but when the rest of your team is humming, you don't want to give up unless there's a guy on the trade block that like you can get for a pretty reasonable deal. Like, if you're trying to force somebody to trade you, the guy that you want, that slot corner, that can always be dangerous for a kind of a top tier team, because the asking price just goes up as soon as you become interested. And I guess a lot of teams feel like the overall value at the end of the day just isn't worth it. I think they'd rather take the gamble that the slot corner is not going to be the reason they don't win enough games this year. So yeah, I reckon they probably went down that route a little bit, in terms of, if there's no one on the market that obviously meets our needs, that we feel like we can get for reasonably cheap, we're not going to kind of overextend ourselves at this point of the season, especially when you have a chance to kind of maybe sign some guys later on that get released or kind of towards the end of the season,
Yeah.
They also did get Byard for next to nothing, like bag of crisps territory. And that someone out there in the Tennessee Titans needs to be looked at. Why are they giving all these star players to the Eagles for practically nothing? It makes zero sense to me.
Very
true.
Like, look at AJ Brown's stats. He's had 125 yards over his last 6 games and a touchdown in each of them. That is insanity.
2 of those were against the Commanders, though, weren't they? I think he's got about 500 yards.
A little bit of a caveat there, but still.
That's been an absolute, like, he's a hell of a player, but my God, the Commanders have had a problem shutting down the number 1 receiver on all of the teams that we've played so far. Holy Jesus.
Can I ask a really quick, sort of off-topic question?
Absolutely.
Mike Vrabel. What's the deal with him? Why is everyone so high on Mike Vrabel?
Will Levis has saved his ass, because he left Tannehill in that position for far too long. The man
No,
is trash.
it doesn't. This team has been trash for 5 fucking years, and
they
everyone's
still
like,
get
"Oh,
results.
Vrabel's such a good coach, such a good coach." What? Like,
I think it's the fact that they've been so trash, but he hasn't lost the locker room. So they must be like, this man is a wizard at talking to people who lose for a living.
They also haven't been all that trash. Like we're 2
they made
years
the
removed
playoffs.
from them being the number
Once.
1 seed in the AFC. Like that's pretty good going. They lost to the Chiefs and damn near beat them. Like they were close to beating them in that playoff game. So yeah, look, I don't think they've been trash, but yeah, these last couple of years they have been awful. But I think part of that is down to relying too much on Derrick Henry.
I just don't. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, come on. Like, Derrick Henry carried that team. He ran for 200 yards a game. I just don't see it with Vrabel. I could be wrong.
I just say just be careful with the Will Levis stuff. I know he torched the Falcons on Sunday, but the Falcons seem to totally forget after the first long touchdown to DeAndre Hopkins that, okay, he has an arm, he'll throw it deep to Hopkins. Let's have a safety back there just in case. But no, he was more... Arthur Smith was more focused on making sure Desmond Ridder got out of the game and Taylor Heineke finished the match instead.
I don't know. I just laughed at the stat. I'm pretty sure it was Will Levis threw 3 30-plus yard touchdowns, and the Titans hadn't done that for more than a year.
Tannehill only had 2 touchdowns all season. And
exactly.
Fucking Levis got 4.
But even into last season, he didn't have a 30-plus yard touchdown pass.
Yeah, now he should have only had 3 because that one to DeAndre Hopkins, that was the most blatant offensive pass interference I've ever seen in my life. He just dragged the guy out of bounds and caught the football. Like,
yeah.
How is the flag not thrown on that?
Also, he's on roids, so like completely illegal the entire time.
Yeah,
I mean,
did you see the comments?
Allegedly, hold on. He's allegedly on roids.
So I mean, I think
he
fine
definitely was on roids, Dara.
I think it's fine.
Was not is.
Jaron Reed is also allegedly on steroids, and that's fine with me. You know, he's having a good year.
Geno Smith's on steroids.
Did you see the comments though that
let them all take steroids?
Did you see the comments that DeAndre Hopkins made as he was walking off the pitch?
I feel like Geno.
Is it? Yeah, I feel like I've been written off. I feel just like Geno, and I was like, oh, Geno's never been done for performance-enhancing drugs. You were written off because you fucking cheated, pal.
Also, everyone knew you chased the money by going to Arizona as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just really want to play with this 5'0" quarterback who can't throw the ball deep.
There's one more story that I want to speak about before we wrap it up because we're nearly at the hour, and I think it's absolutely hilarious. The Rams, obviously, they got
on the comeback.
They got messed around by the Cowboys at the weekend.
Good team.
Matt Stafford injured himself. He has a thumb injury. They say he's day to day, but they've gone so far as to try and sign a quarterback as cover. Former 49ers backup John Wolford. They wanted to sign him from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers practice squad. But then he said, you know what? I'm not arse coming back to LA. I'm going to stay on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers practice squad, he has since now been promoted to the active roster. But how embarrassing is it? Like, you call an ex to ask them to come back, and they're just like, nah.
Yeah. Also, the Rams had 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Like, I know he's probably coming in to be backup or whatever, or triple backup, but like, how dodgy do you think it's going to be that you're going to get all the way down to your last quarterback and then still need something? Like, Jesus, you're not the Giants.
I know they have 3, but one of them is gone. Stetson Bennett is actually on the is he on the pup list?
He went on the NFI list.
Yeah.
And he's not playing this season.
Yeah, well, he's
no
nearly
one
Tom
said
Brady's
what it was.
age.
He's just
he's nearly Tom Brady's age, so it could just be a bit of arthritis.
But yeah, I can understand why they went to go after John Wolford, because it's Brett Rippon who's the backup at the moment.
Yeah, he's ripping it.
Oh
We're going to see
god,
him. Who
Not
are
really.
the Rams playing this week?
they are playing.
What are we, week 9? Holy Jesus.
That's a very good question. Actually, I don't know.
We are week 9. They're playing the Packers. That's a win. Let's go, rip in. First win of your career. Let's go.
They're playing
I
the
don't know.
Packers. Jeez.
Why
I mean, the
why
Packers
can
are
the
not
Packers
good, but
just
they're
run
not
the ball?
pushovers. Like, and without Stafford,
Well, a lot of people have been pushing them over, Al. 5 people. Pushed them over pretty good.
I never said they
I
were.
don't
I
know,
said
they
I
pushed
specifically
themselves
Then
said
they got
they're
pushed
not
over,
good.
and the Broncos literally came in with no wins and went, "Ha, we got one." And Jordan Love had like 7 yards or something like that.
Yeah, Jordan Love is not it. God, what a
Well,
waste.
no.
thanks for that hot take, Al. Neither's Russell
I didn't mean
Wilson,
it to
by
be a
the
hot
way.
take.
Still couldn't break
Jordan
200
Love is
yards
fucking shit.
against-
Jordan Love is
Russell
fucking
Wilson
shit. It wasn't
is
meant to be a hot
actually-
take.
For all the problems that the Broncos have had, Russell Wilson isn't one of them this year.
Yes, he is, Dara. Yeah, he
Oh.
absolutely is.
He's not.
He's not.
He's not.
Look up his
I know you
stats,
hate
Fionn.
him, but
One
like
touchdown.
All
Look, Fionn,
season?
I'd be.
the,
I
the
would.
thing is,
I would love
and I-
to try to hop on the bandwagon with you and go after Russell Wilson, but I can't. He's actually played all right this year for the Broncos.
the thing is, and
He hasn't won a
up
lot.
here real quick. It's very funny. Why is he playing, well enough? He's making less mistakes. He's throwing the ball pretty well, and he does look better. Like it's not just what I'm about to bring up. He does legitimately look better. But it's very funny that, everyone was saying Pete was holding him back. He went 12 and 19 for 114 yards and 3 touchdowns. Fair enough. 153 yards running though.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that has to lean on the run game,
Well, hold on, lads. I'm
and
sorry.
that's what makes him better.
Last 5 games, yards 114, 194, 95, 196.
When
He
did
has
throw for
practically the
95
same
yards?
yardage, right? Here's one for you. 5-2 Seattle Seahawks. He has practically the same yardage as Geno Smith, more touchdowns
Trash.
and less interceptions. So he's not playing badly. That's not a slight on Geno Smith. I did say this drop-off was going to come with Geno Smith, but he's not playing overly badly. Russell Wilson is having a good year.
Well, let's see what Derek Carr has.
I think Geno's
He's pretty
fine.
bad.
I mean, he has made some
Derek Carr is
stupid
not the measuring
mistakes.
stick for the league.
Oh God, no.
Well,
But like
he's got
if you
310,
want-
301, 353, 183. So he's basically doubled Russell Wilson's yardage in the last 5 games. Also,
if you
for
want to
2
talk about
interceptions
turnovers as
and
well, I mean,
2
Patrick
interceptions and
Mahomes
6
has
touchdowns.
8 on the year.
I
We're
don't know,
talking
guys.
about like over
I'll just-
turnovers and stuff like.
I'm just out on Russell Wilson, man. Like, put him in a
Oh
home.
no, we're
That's
all
how he
out
should
on Russell
be. He's
Wilson.
not the player
We're not
he used
saying
to
that
be,
Russell
but he's
Wilson
a-
is coming back. We're just saying that Russell Wilson
serviceable.
is not the problem in Denver.
I mean,
right now.
Russell Wilson didn't give up 74 fucking points to the Dolphins.
That's
like,
true. I want Sean Payton to be fired after 1 season, after all the trash talk he gave
Oh,
him,
that'd
telling
be
you
so
hacking
funny.
about how bad of
After-
a coaching job he was doing.
after all the trash talk and after giving up a first-round pick to get him for some reason,
The front office just cannot do that, though. Like,
they can, and it'd be funny, and they should because he's not good.
they can, they should, but they won't because they'll look like dumbasses for
Yeah, they
doing
will
it.
look
And they're
like
not the
dogs.
Raiders. Like, they have money. They can afford that shit. They can't fire McDaniels because they have, 100 million tied up in them and they're poor. But the Broncos can do whatever they want.
That's a good place to end, Darren. The Broncos can do whatever they want,
Yeah.
except win a football game.
All that
Other than
one.
that,
Win.
almost
I was
everything.
gonna say except win.
But at least they have a lot of money to roll around in.
Yeah. All right then. So yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you to everyone that watched this evening and commented and send in some talking points. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already, like this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like I said, we've had a few weeks off. We are back now to continue talking shit about each other's teams, talking shit about other teams, and just the usual. Like we'll just keep doing that till the end of the year. You don't need any structured analysis. Go to NFL Network for that. Just come here for the absolute slight that we're going to give Fionn once the Seahawks put 80 up on the Commanders in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that has looked a lot less impressive than it did yesterday, Dara.
It's a damn shame we don't play the Panthers as well.
Yeah.
well,
it's a good thing, actually. Well, again, Panthers again.
He's already did play the Panthers.
Yeah, that's what.
Won fairly handily, but yeah.
Yeah,
but Young showed a lot
Yeah,
of
but
upside.
I mean, after our defense got their shit together and stopped making mediocre receivers go.
Hey,
200
our offense
yards.
got our shit together. We won a game, baby. 15 points on the board. Woo-woo.
How fast it goes from let's go. Reed's like we're gonna finish 8-8. Let's go. The comeback starts now.
Actually, Sam Howell, I meant to say, Sam Howell nearly cost me my fancy matchup this week. I had him
Well, I
on the
beat Ryan,
bench.
so that's all right.
I had him on the
Looked
bench.
like he was predicted
and
to
he
win.
scored,
But
Yeah, he got very lucky that Darren Waller went down after like 10 minutes of play, 1.3
beat you by
points.
like
I
10
got fucked.
points.
Darren Waller is worth 10 points.
That's fair.
with Danny DeVito thrown to him.
Yeah.
Why didn't they
No,
let Danny DeVito throw?
specifically not throwing them. They wouldn't let him even toss the pitch.
The most Italian quarterback I've ever seen, and they wouldn't let him throw.
I
Travesty.
hope he's
What's-
related to the other Danny.
What's his
DeVito.
Italianness got to do with throwing the football?
I'll show you a picture after. It's very funny. He looks like he's straight out of the fucking Sopranos.
Could be. He could be. But anyway, look, like I said, we're going to wrap this up. Lads, I really appreciate the time as always. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the videos, make sure you're following us on the socials at UnderCenterPod, wherever you get your socials. That is, of course, Instagram and X, Twitter, whatever the fuck it's called. The podcast of this will be available as well to listen to on the go. Under Center Podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I say podcast way too much. That is where we're
I
going
thought
to
it was a boo cast.
Damn it, Rian.
Shit joke.
I'm more just disappointed in myself that I forgot that. And a firework goes off.
There's the last of the fireworks.
That's quite appropriate, isn't it?
What a way
Anyway,
to play us out.
lads, thanks for listening. Really appreciate it. We'll see you next week.